Executive Director of the Anne Frank Center for Mutual Respect called yesterday's statement, quote, a pathetic asterisk of condescension after weeks in which he and his staff have committed grotesque acts and omissions reflecting anti-Semitism.
Susan Page is Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today, and she joins us at the table. Susan, always good to see you.
It's great to be back.
So let's start with the changes in the immigration policy, because most people I know want anybody who's here illegally, who has committed crimes, sent back. I think most people agree on that. But this policy seems to take it one step further than that, does it?
It takes it 3 steps further than that. You know, it doesn't change the law. The law is the same as it's been for recent administrations. It's a big shift in attitude, not only from the Obama administration, but also from the George W. Bush administration.
How so?
Both those administrations said if you've committed a crime and you're here illegally, you should get deported. But this has greatly expanded the pool of people who should really are at risk of deportation, and it's expanded the pool of people who are at risk for fast-track deportation without court hearings.
Right.
I mean, the front page of USA Today, I mean, you guys blare this headline. U.S. could deport millions of people? Really? Millions of people? The White House says we're not talking about mass deportation. Which is it?
Because the White House says that they're not going to do that now. But it opens the door to this, and you cannot have mass deportation. You could define that in different ways. This isn't going to happen at least until they hire new agents, expand the number of immigration judges, increase detention facilities. But this sets as a policy many more deportations than we've seen in the last decade.
I mean, this could create a climate of fear in the immigrant community if it hasn't already.
I think it already has. Our reporting from Alan Gomez in Miami reports the kind of fear that we see with illegal immigrants. And even a few of the scattered cases we've seen, like the case in California, where the mother who had been here for more than a decade was deported, has raised great alarm. So you remember that 2/3 of illegal immigrants have been here for at least a decade. So they're really part of the fabric of our life, although admittedly they're here illegally.
But they've been contributing citizens to this country.
Many of them. And the crime rate for illegal immigrants, is lower than the crime rates for others.
Despite what is often advertised.
Yes, although there are some celebrated crimes involving illegal immigrants.
And isn't it giving more authority to local enforcement officials as well?
That's right. And it tries to expand some of these partnerships with local law enforcement officials that have been reduced in the Obama administration. And it also gives more power to immigration agents to say, I think that you're a threat to national security, you're a threat to public safety, and therefore you are subject to deportation.
We've been reporting about the heat that Republican lawmakers are receiving at these town halls while they're home for the recess. So I've heard it said it's more astroturf than grassroots, meaning that it's kind of like fake protests. But nevertheless, those are people in those districts who have turned out. What's the practical effect? Is it like the Tea Party protests?
So this reminds me of when Democrats tried to dismiss the Tea Party movement in 2009 and 2010 as something that was cooked up by conservative activists. Democratic liberal activists are running to get ahead of this parade, right? When we saw the Women's March on Washington, or those big demonstrations on the second weekend of President Obama's tenure, those were not generated by organizations. Now, liberal organizations are not trying to take advantage of this, but this certainly reflects concern that Republicans are hearing.
But Donald Trump is calling them so-called Republican, so-called angry crowds are actually numerous cases planned out by liberal activists. Is that what you're seeing there, liberal activists who are generating these protests?
In some cases, but I was back in my hometown of Wichita last week to talk to the Girl Scouts, and that's pretty good Trump country. Kansas went for Trump in a big way, and there's still a lot of support for President Trump, and they're feeling that he's doing what he said he was going to do, but also a little unease about some of the fights that he's picked.
All right, Susan Page, thanks so much.
Thank you.